What is up, gamers? It is a fine Tuesday evening, and I am Glenn Gordon here with you for episode 11 of 4 Gamers Only. We're a little late today, this week I should say. Things have been kind of going on. It's been an interesting week in gaming, and for me personally. We planned to do a full group podcast with Gary and Ben and Pedro after my solo podcast last weekend. However, some things went down. My cat this weekend, he did something he shouldn't have. Here's the story. I've seen a couple roaches, nothing crazy, I just don't like roaches. So I've been getting these traps, you know, the bait that you can put out there, and, you know, the bugs get it and they take it back to the nest and it kills them all. So there are these little square black things, you hide them in corners, and one of my cats, the youngest one, his name is Blaze, he was the runt of his litter, he seems to think that they make an excellent toy. So I see him sometimes, he'll be batting them around and playing with them, and I usually immediately scold him and put them back where they should be, because we don't need cats playing with poisonous objects. So I get home from work yesterday, we were going to record yesterday, and, well, I see him sitting there on the kitchen floor, actually with one of the traps in his paws, and he's chewing on it. He's biting it, he's chewing on it, and so I rushed over and I pulled it away from him, and I looked at it and it was cracked. So, because it was cracked open, I decided to operate under the assumption that he had actually ingested some, just for safety, and took him to the vet. He's fine, he's okay. If he ingested some, it wasn't enough to do him any harm. So, long story short, if anyone has an alternative for pest control, give me a holler. I don't want my cat eating roach bait. But anyway, my cat is fine. Both of them are fine. One is sleeping right next to me as we speak. So now with that out of the way, let's talk about some gaming, and let's begin with our tweets. Guys, you can tweet us at 4G only, number 4, GONLY, and we will read your tweets on the podcast. We love having discussions. We love hearing what you guys think, and so that is why we are doing that. So let's take a look here. We don't have a lot of tweets this week, but we do have some. At Animation Aaron, Aaron Johnson, he says, as always, great show this week. Will you be doing an E3 predictions episode as the big event comes closer? Why, of course we will. Of course we will. We cannot have an E3 without a prediction episode of some sort. We will go through it, and just like last year on RDGH, we'll have a recap afterward. I don't know if it'll be a special episode or it'll just be another episode of 4GO, but we will do it because E3 is just that kind of event. We're looking forward to E3. It's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned to 4GO. Thanks for the tweet, Aaron. At DMU Girl 2008 says, episode 10 was great, loved the rants. Sometimes you just have to get stuff off your chest, and so I appreciate that you loved them. Thanks for the tweet. At SNova34Z says, if it happens again where only one of you guys is recording alone, bring on a special guest. For example, me, for God's sake, me. Ah, man, wish I'd seen this tweet earlier. I don't mind doing these solo podcasts. I have fun with them, actually. But yeah, man, we need to get this guy on the podcast. He's been following us for a long time. So, let's talk. Josh Bailey at Know It Man says, I thought you guys would enjoy this. # social justice warrior. He sent us a YouTube video with this little pixelated animation that just... I don't know what to think. Like, it gave me a headache in a way, because it's like, oh my goodness, I know exactly this kind of person that it's talking about, but it's hilarious. Like, there's this, it's like an RPG, and you've got a black mage, a white mage, a ninja, and a warrior, and the warrior is not just any warrior, no! She is a social justice warrior, and it is a great video. If you've got kids around, only one cuss word right at the end. Other than that, it is just amazing. I have retweeted it. It is on our Twitter right now at 4G only. Josh, thank you for sharing that. It made my day in a way, but it also made me sad because it made me realize or remember that this is the world in which we live. So thank you. I did get a kick out of it. I'm going to show it to the other guys. I wish they were here. SNover34Z once again, think it'll be 50-50. The kids who love Nintendo turning 25 will stick around, but certain kids will grow out of it and move on. He's referring to our last podcast. I asked whether or not the new generation of kids, when they grow up, whether or not they're going to care about Nintendo going forward. Nintendo's audience, a lot of it is, gamers from the 90s who grew up with their franchises, and whether or not they're actually going to have that audience going forward. That's a good outlook on it. I think that there are a lot of kids who are going to stick around. Actually, a good friend of mine sent me a video talking about this. After I published this episode, I put it on my Facebook page. She sent me a video from PBS Game & Show where they were actually talking about whether or not Nintendo's, specifically Legend of Zelda, exploits nostalgia. And the suggestion is that parents who grew up with the franchise and have that nostalgia share the franchise with their children. And so their children also grow up with the same franchises and grow nostalgia for those franchises. That's a pretty good theory. So shout out to @PBS Game & Show. And thanks so much, my friend Brittany. It is a great video. Thanks for sharing that with us. So if you have an opinion on this, hey, that question's still open at 4G only. There was another question that I actually just tweeted, and I asked, do you believe mobile is the future of gaming? We'll get to that in just a moment. At Shifty25, his response was, it definitely has its own place in the future of gaming as a platform for good, but it cannot replace all gaming. So that is also a very fair outlook on that. We'll get to that in just a moment, guys. If you would like to join the conversation, once again, our Twitter is at 4G only, at number 4, GONLY. Let's talk about MOBAs for a second. If you don't know what a MOBA is, it is a multiplayer online battle arena. And usually how MOBA works is instead of just having one big game that you go in and play continuously, you have a bunch of different smaller matches. The most popular MOBA right now is League of Legends, and Dota 2 is also one of those. In fact, Base Hunter made a song about Dota, so I guess that might have said something about its popularity back in the day. However, League of Legends is the top dog right now. Now Blizzard, the company behind World of Warcraft, Diablo, and a few other popular games, has created its own MOBA that has launched its open beta today, the 19th of May, 2015. That open beta is free. It is available. Go play it. It is. You can sign up on the game's website, which is us.battle.net/heroes. If you're in America anyway, battle.net/heroes, or just Google Heroes of the Storm, you'll find it. That's what it's called. It looks pretty solid. I haven't played it myself yet. I wasn't in the closed beta, and I haven't had a chance to try out the open beta that just started today. But someone from Kotaku, Yannick Lejak, I cannot pronounce that name. I'm so sorry, sir. He actually played the game, and he wrote a few articles about things he liked and he didn't like. And it's a very interesting game. It looks interesting. It definitely is not at the place where Dota or League of Legends is right now. But it does some interesting things. So here are some things that he liked about it. For one, it lets you try stuff out before buying it. Yes! Yes! Thank you! Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, League of Legends sort of has that. There are free champions that you can get. They're free for a limited amount of time. You can try them when they're free, but that is not true for all champions. It's only for certain champions. So if you want to try that one champ, you'll have to wait until it's free. Otherwise, you just have to buy it and hope it's good. You see it in the game. You just hope you get it. However, Heroes of the Storm allows you to try things out before you buy it. You get a little demo with the item, with the skin, with the champion, before you have to buy it. That is definitely a plus. I am so happy about that, and I hope that's something that League of Legends and Dota integrate now that there's a little more competition on the block. He also said there are creative champions, which is good. There are a bunch of different maps, which is also good. League of Legends only has a few. The big map is Summoner's Rift, and that is the map for all main games. There are a few different maps, but they are for completely different modes of the game. So, for just normal standard gameplay, there's just one map, and then you have like 3 versus 3. You have what is that one called with the it's kind of like a capture the flag kind of, I don't know, it has a different name. So, for this, having a lot of different maps, that's pretty good. Matches are a lot shorter. Here's what he says. This is a quote. "I consider any game that runs more than 25 or 30 minutes in Heroes of the Storm to be a very, very long one." He also says, "I consider any game that lasts 25 or 30 minutes in League of Legends or Dota 2 to be the exact opposite." So matches are considerably shorter, which means, it's easier to deal with losers. MOBA games are famous for having the scum of the earth who just happen to find this game and play it and have nothing better to do than make your life miserable for an hour or for 45 minutes or however long you're in the game with them. Goodness, I've had experiences with these people. I've had people, there's this one story, I don't know if I'll ever forget this. There were people who were from, I'm not sure where they were from. I think they were from Mexico or Argentina. They were from Central America, that sort of thing, down south. They were from a Hispanic country. And, this was before people from South America had their own server. And back then, people hated playing with Brazilian players. And I know how that sounds, but it's true that those players did not present themselves in a very friendly way. They made it so that people just hated playing with them. That's just how it was, and it's true that not all Brazilians are like that, but that's just how it was in the game. And so now they have their own server. That's not how it was before. And I was playing with some such people, and they were making fun of me for being American, solely for being American. You're American, go work at McDonald's, go eat your fries, all this stuff. It was just ridiculous. It had nothing to do with the game. It had absolutely nothing to do with the game. And I do speak a little Spanish. They started talking in Spanish as if I couldn't understand them. I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I can get around. So, they were just making fun of me just for being American. Just for being American. Not for my gameplay, not for anything, just for being American. And I hated that. I hate, why are you playing a game? Is that all you have to do? Is that why you downloaded the game? Is that why you're playing the game? Do something else. Do something else. Do something better with your time. Do something more constructive instead of being a jackass in a video game. Do something else. That's all you got to do. You don't have to be that negative. You'll be a much happier person, and this goes not just for them, but for everybody. You'll be a much happier person if you find some other way to spend your time other than trying to go and ruin someone's day. That's it. So matches are super short in Heroes of the Storm. It's very casual friendly. Some things he didn't like about the game: it's more expensive. Things that are, for example, Dota, everything's pretty much free in Dota 2. League of Legends, not free. You have to buy champions, you have to buy skins, but champions you can buy with in-game currency that you earn. And, things that you do buy are $5 or $10, so they're not that expensive. Heroes of the Storm, things are a little more expensive. Matchmaking is not that great, as according to our friend whose name I cannot pronounce from Kotaku. And also the maps are underwhelming. The gameplay can be a little mindless. So, it's basically the game is in a place where it has potential. A lot of the stuff that he's saying he does not like is stuff that can be fixed over time. It's a brand new game. It's just an open beta. Give it a chance. However, do I think it is going to top League of Legends? Abso-freaking-lutely not. League of Legends is too far gone right now, to the point where it can have its own competition. It's called esports now, and I see stories about schools who are implementing esports and League of Legends into their athletic programs. I'm sorry, there's a difference between esports and athleticism, okay? Yes, there is a bit of a mental aspect to a MOBA game, but it is not athletic activity. It is not physical activity. So I disagree with that. Maybe you disagree with me, I don't know. Let me know. Twitter, @4GOnly. But League of Legends, it has this big thing. It went to Korea, and it filled a stadium, and it got freaking Imagine Dragons there on stage to sing, to perform. It's huge. They paid for that. It's huge. It's a huge company right now, Riot is. So Blizzard is not going to surpass Riot anytime in the near future, or I'd say in the far future. We would have to see, hey, I could be wrong. Heroes of the Storm could just take off and bam, there you go. But I seriously doubt it right now, especially now. It's brand new. One thing that's a problem with it feels a little limited. Because it relies pretty heavily on Blizzard's own franchises. So you'll have characters from Diablo and you'll have characters from World of Warcraft, and you don't have a lot of variety there. So they really need to get a little more creative. They really need to get some new champions out there so that this game can take off. But Heroes of the Storm is available right now in open beta, completely free. Google Heroes of the Storm, you'll find it. Konami has announced that mobile is where the future of gaming lies. This is the reference that I mentioned earlier from our tweet. Konami's big focus going forward will be mobile, not AAA games, according to the CEO, whose name is Hideki Hayakawa. He says that mobile's just where it is, pay-as-you-play model of games. Here's a quote from him. Gaming has spread to a number of platforms, but at the end of the day, the platform that is always closest to us is mobile. Mobile is where the future of gaming lies. Yes and no, Hayakawa-san. Yes and no. Mobile games are a little convenient for developers because everybody here always has their mobile devices with them. You've always got your phone with you. You probably have your iPad, your tablet with you. So yeah, the devices are always on hand. However, they don't always translate. That is the big thing, and that is why console gaming is thriving so well right now. Mobile game for years, people have been saying console gaming is dead because mobile gaming is now the new thing, and everyone's going around playing freaking Farmville and saying, "Oh, look, I'm a pro gamer. This is where gaming is." And I'm not being fair. Let me admit I'm not being fair. There are some really stellar, powerful games out there that really work the system, the phone system. That is, they really use its resources and put them to good use. However, these games, touchscreens do not always translate well. When you have a dedicated controller, a physical controller in your hand, A, you're not blocking the screen. B, you have tactile feedback. When you're touching a piece of glass, you do not have that. All you have is when the phone vibrates. And if it's a tablet, it probably doesn't vibrate at all. So you lose a lot of accuracy. You lose a lot of accuracy. You lose a lot of precision. You lose a lot of the feel of getting into the game because you have to deal with these touch controls. Your fingers are sliding around all over the screen. Your screen is all greasy from when you just used it to call your girlfriend and it was pressing up against your sweaty face. It's not perfect, So yes, mobile games are part of the future for gaming, but they are not the future for gaming. Consoles have a place. PC games have a place. Konami is making a big mistake by saying mobile is the future of gaming because it's just not. It's a future, but it's not the future. So I'm interested to see where Konami goes. I'm interested to see what games it comes up with and how it uses the different technologies that are out there. It also doesn't help that there are so many freaking phones out there. You have to develop for all sorts of different screen sizes, all different sorts of processors, all different sorts of things. It's so much more simple to develop for one processor. For the PS4, for the Xbox One, it's so much more simple to develop for an established array of PCs. There are a million phones come out every year. How do you account for all of that, I don't know. They're doing their own thing. I think it's going to work for them. I think they'll find success. But I think that they are, they're losing something by completely ditching the rest of the gaming industry, and they don't seem to believe that. But maybe you disagree. Hey, send us a tweet, 4G only on Twitter. So there you go. There's Konami. I don't know what's going on with them. They've been in the news lately for all sorts of reasons, very few of them positive. So we'll see where they go next. Ratchet & Clank fans, like myself, are a little disappointed. The Ratchet & Clank movie and the remake of the Ratchet & Clank game were supposed to be out in spring 2015, aka right now. However, they have been delayed until April 29, 2016. It is encouraging that now there is a specific date. It's a little discouraging that that date is almost 365 days from today. So we will be waiting a while to see the new Ratchet & Clank movie. And the game, yes, they are remaking the game, and it's not going to be a port from the PS1 or anything like. It's going to be rebuilt for the PS4. I am excited. I am so excited, and so it's a disappointment. Rainmaker Entertainment and goodness, never mind, I lost the other company. Don't worry about me, I just got off work, I'm tired. There's going to be a pretty star-studded voice cast that they're going on about. Paul Giamatti from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the upcoming movie San Andreas will be Chairman Drek. John Goodman from Monsters, Inc. and Transformers Age of Extinction will be Grimroth. Bella Thorne from Blended will be Korra. Rosario Dawson will be from Marvel's, Rosario Dawson from Marvel's Daredevil and Sin City will be Alaris. And the one and only Sylvester Stallone will be Victor. I'm reading that from IGN. So we are going to have those in addition to the regular voice talent from the actual video games, such as James Arnold Taylor as Ratchet, David K. as Clank, Armin Shimmerman as Nefarious, Jim Ward as Captain Quark. We will have all those celebrities. Yay! You know, as far as acting goes, I really wish people would pay a little less attention to, oh, this person's a celebrity, this person has been in such and such movies, and more attention to the actual talent of the performer. And not I don't mean whether or not they have talent, I mean whether or not their talent fits the role. You know, you have people focusing on, oh, we got Angelina Jolie, and not worrying about whether or not Angelina Jolie is the best fit for the movie. They because those names are marketable. Because people buy into that, and I wish they didn't. I wish it was a little different. If it were that way, we would probably have the Uncharted movie out right now as we speak, because people are so worried about, oh, you know, this celebrity has to be in it. No, that celebrity has to be in it. We could have this voice actor. We could have the voice actor from the actual thing, but we need a bigger name, a bigger celebrity. I hate that. I hate that. You know, I get why they're doing it because it's marketing. You can sell that a little better, but I hate that because you have that authentism. You know, I think gamers, people who are familiar with the franchises, will definitely go for one with the actual voices from the series that they know, as opposed to just some random celebrity. You know, I think that's a misjudgment of the audience, but, you know, again, that's just me. So that's it for Ratchet and Clank. Look for that again on April 29, 2016. And Ratchet and Clank fans, hold your disappointment. I'm sad. Delays are never a bad thing per se, because of course they're there to improve the product, but it still sucks. So look for that coming out soon. Guys, a very interesting story has hit the internet about Microsoft. Well, less specifically about Microsoft and more about a company working with Microsoft. VMC is a game testing company. And, well, not VMC, but workers for VMC actually leaked videos from a big beta test of the upcoming Gears of War remake. That is a big no-no. You do not leak things for these people. I hate when people do that because, you know, a lot of hard work goes into this, and people just want to get a few minutes of fame. Hey, look what I got, you know? Ruining people's work. I hate that. But anyway, here's the meat of the story. VMC said in a memo that Microsoft had both permanently banned those people from Xbox Live and temporarily disabled their consoles, rendering them useless. VMC said, quote, Microsoft also permanently disabled their Xbox Live accounts, as well as other suspected accounts present on their Xbox One kits, and temporarily blocked all of their Xbox One privileges, meaning that for a period of time which Microsoft decides, depending on the severity of the offense, their Xbox One is entirely unusable. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. You mean Microsoft can just remotely disable my whole console? My Xbox could just become a brick at Microsoft's win? No, not exactly. That was kind of misworded on VMC's part. Basically what was going on is the Xbox Live accounts are suspended. And if you suspend the Xbox Live accounts, essentially the Xbox One's kind of unusable. Yes, they did make it so that it's not tied to the internet, so that it won't be bricked if it's not connected to the internet for 24 hours. But it's also, you know, it's also kind of dependent on that. That's how it gets its updates. You can't get any new updates if you're not connected to Xbox Live. A lot of multiplayer stuff. So, you know, Microsoft's denying that, saying the consoles are still usable offline. Here's what Microsoft said. To be clear, if a console is suspended from Xbox Live for a violation of the terms of use, it still can be used offline. Microsoft enforcement action does not result in a console becoming unusable. And then it goes on a little bit about the factors that go into making those kinds of decisions. Microsoft didn't expand upon that statement to Kotaku. However, there you have it. I'm frustrated because I really hate when people leak things. I know I said that already. Um, Kotaku sent an email, or excuse me, Kotaku obtained an email from VMC. It was the email that actually was sent out to VMC's employees, and it explains that a lot of leaks were perpetrated by several GBTN, Global Beta Test Network, community members, and they used Snapchat. A member who was participating in the test shared a screenshot on Snapchat with a friend who was not part of the project, quote, but tricked his friend by saying he didn't believe him when he said they were working on the same project. Okay. I don't get how that works, but okay. However, upon reception of the screenshot, the friend who received the Snapchat leaked it online, betraying his friend as well as his non-disclosure agreement with VMC Games. Some friend you are. What a jerk face. What a jerk face. You need better friends. So that's what's going on. No, Microsoft isn't going to just disable your thing for the TOS. However, here's another question. Should it be able to do that? Should it be able to do that? If you violate the terms, not just on a whim, not just, I accidentally did so-and-so, oh, guess I'm losing my console. No, not like that. But if there is a serious violation such as a leak of confidential information, should disabling the console be a thing? Because if not, then guess what? There's nothing that people can do about these leaks, about people leaking information that shouldn't happen. That's a bad thing for the company. I'm sure gamers enjoy seeing leaks. Of course gamers enjoy seeing leaks. News journalism places enjoy seeing leaks. I'm running a podcast. I wouldn't mind a leak or two. However, for the company, that's not a good thing. Here's all this work that they put into keeping these secrets, into surprising their audiences, into making this experience a surprise and a good thing, so that when people get those games and experience them, it's for the first time. You don't have spoilers. And these people leak these things. They take that away. Should they be able to do that? Should there be some kind of enforcement there? I think the answer is yes and no, because I think, yes, for the company's sake, it should happen. But the concern is always, will the company abuse that power? So, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Hey, send us your tweets and let us know what you think at 4G only. That's a crazy thing that's going on for Microsoft and for VMC, for Gears of War. We're looking forward to Gears of War. We need some new games on Microsoft. It's been a little barren lately as far as exclusives go. So, which is interesting. We're actually going to talk about that in just a little bit here. But first, let us move on. Let's talk about Daybreak Studio. A little while back, Sony sold one of its studios. It was called Sony Online Entertainment. And that was huge because Sony Online Entertainment was a really well-known studio. It was known for its massively multiplayer online games, its MMOs, like EverQuest 2, the EverQuest franchise, Free Realms, DC Universe Online, H1Z1, PlanetSide 2, Star Wars Galaxies. Goodness. It was a big studio, and Sony sold it. It is now called Daybreak Game Company. And now the question that a lot of people have been wondering is, now that Daybreak is its own studio, now that it is not tied to Sony anymore, will it start expanding its audience to, for example, Xbox? Will Xbox One see video games from Daybreak Studios? And, well, that's not out of the question, according to... that's not out of the question, according to John Smedley, the president of Daybreak Games. He says it could be a nice chunk of revenue. What he says, here's a quote, if you just take the numbers that the console publishers themselves have put out, you're talking about a 50% revenue lift. Yes, here is my answer. Yes, they should absolutely expand to Xbox One. That would be a good business move. Why would you stay with one console? If you're an independent studio and you have freedom, why would you ignore part of the market just because this other part of the market used to be your dad? Why would you do that? You're giving up on 50% of revenue for some random principle. I mean, a lot of people are going to be, oh, you're betraying Sony. All the fanboys, oh, you're betraying Sony. You're a traitor. I'm not buying anything from Daybreak if it's going to be on Xbox One. Nah. Grow up. Grow up. Please grow up. Because it is about so much more than that. It is not about some delusion of loyalty. There is no such thing. All right? Why? What? For what reason? For what reason should Daybreak Studio stay with Sony? Why? Why? When it can make 50% more of its revenue by expanding its audience to all gamers. To all gamers. Why? What is so special about PS4 gamers that they deserve this more than other gamers? What's so special about PC gamers that they deserve something more than just console? Why? What's the point? So yes, Sony Online Entertainment, Daybreak Studios should absolutely expand to Xbox One and to any platform it can get its hands on, because that's where it's going to make money. That's how it's going to make money, and it's going to make more gamers happy. It's going to make more gamers happy. More gamers will get to experience games from Daybreak. What is wrong with that? So, best of luck to Daybreak. I hope that they do exactly what they need to do to grow, because that company, Sony Online Entertainment, I think it was in a bit of it did H1Z1, but I think it was in a bit of a slump as far as stuff coming. New stuff wasn't coming out. DC Universe Online went free to play long ago, so I think it needed it. I think now it really needs to just find itself and get in there and get some new content out. So best of luck to Daybreak. PS4 has, speaking of PS4, PS4 in Brazil has been having some problems. Not the console itself. There's actually been a piracy technique that has been confirmed to be real, and Sony might be considering legal action. I'm looking at wololo.net, which is a lot of fun to say, by the way. WOLOLO.net. I'm not going to go ahead and tell you guys how to hack your consoles. There are little brief explanations. If you want to find them, that is on you. I am not putting that on me. For hopefully for understandable reasons. But people are finding ways to pirate PS4 games over there. The shops that do it, they charge about $100, and they'll install 10 games. The games would cost almost $600 normally, so it's a great deal for everybody. For Brazil, you can't really blame Sony, but the PS4 and games for the PS4 are extremely expensive in Brazil. And it's not Sony's fault, it's the government's fault. Because the government categorizes video games under gambling, and there's a very heavy tax. So a lot of the money that you pay for a PS4, the Brazilian government gets for a tax. So that's just how it is, and that's, I think, part of why this piracy thing is coming around. Because if you cannot get the game one way, if one method of getting what you need is so far out of your reach, a lot of people will try to find other ways, and some of those ways are illegal. There's no way in which that I am condoning this. Piracy, don't do it. It's illegal. Don't do it. But what I'm saying is that I'm not surprised that it's happening. I'm not surprised that there's this thing going on in Brazil. But Sony is trying to take legal action. Cease and desist notices have already gone out, and we'll just see what goes on there. If you want to find more information, again, I'm not going to go ahead and tell you how to hack your consoles. I'm not going to tell you that information. You can find it on the internet. It is on you and not on me. Just letting you guys know that. Okay, so guys, it is my favorite kind of week. It is an NPD week. The NPD results for April are out, and they are a little surprising. Let's get right down to it. Overall retail sales for hardware, not for hardware, overall retail sales, like I said, I just got off work, I'm tired, are up 3% from last year. Hardware sales down 4% from last year. However, retail software sales were up 13% from last year. I think as far as hardware sales go, we're going to continue to see declines, because a lot of people, there are 20-something million PS4s out there. The Xbox Ones, they're somewhere in the teens. There are millions of these consoles out there. For the most part, if you were going to buy one, you've got one, I think we'll start to see increases again when those halfway models come out, the slims and all of that stuff. We'll start to see big increases then. But for now, my prediction is we'll continue to see decreases. Probably not every month a decrease, but generally decreases are starting to happen. Software. Now, here's how the software works for NPD. NPD only talks about software in North America, so if you're in Europe, your numbers do not count in this. I apologize. That's just how they roll, I suppose. How they organize it is they list the game and then they list the consoles that the games are on. I say consoles, the systems that the games are on, because PC is not a console. So they list them in order from most sales to least sales. So here we go. I'm going to read them backwards from number 10. Number 10, bestseller, Borderlands, the Handsome Collection. Oh, let me say one more thing before I continue. Put a bookmark in that. Digital games do not count in this, and bundles do not count. So if there are bundles, if there are digital games, if you're wondering, hey, what about this game? If it was in a bundle, those bundles did not count. If it's digital, it didn't count. This is just physical copies of the game that you can go to GameStop and pick up and buy and take home and pop into your console. That's all. So number 10, Borderlands, the Handsome Collection sold best on PS4, followed by Xbox One. Super Smash Bros. Sold best on 3DS and Wii U. Afterward on number 9. Number 8, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin for PS4, then Xbox One, then 360, then PS3. Number 7, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare for Xbox One, then PS4, 360, PS3, and PC. NBA 2K15 for Xbox One, PS4, 360, PS3, and PC. Minecraft for 360, PS3, Xbox One, PS4. Yeah, amusingly, 360 and PS3 have the highest sales for Minecraft. I wonder why. Let's talk about that in a second. Number 4, MLB 15 The Show for PS4, then PS3. That's an exclusive. Battlefield comes in at number 3, Battlefield Hardline for Xbox One, PS4, 360, PS3, PC. Number 2, Grand Theft Auto 5 for PS4, Xbox One, PC, 360, PS3. And at number 1, Mortal Kombat 10, or X, whichever it is. PS4 and then Xbox One. So Minecraft, I think Minecraft's popular because a lot of kids love Minecraft as well. A lot of people love Minecraft, a lot of kids, and a lot of the younger crowd don't have the Xbox One and the PS4 yet. This is just me talking, my assumption, my guess. A lot of people love Minecraft, and it's very accessible to those previous generation consoles, which a lot more people have than have the newer consoles. Just a guess. So Xbox One, then PS4, it's selling best on Xbox One out of the Gen 8 consoles, the PS4 and Xbox One. So that's interesting. There we go. PlayStation software sales continue to be ahead of Xbox software sales and PC software sales, of course, for April 2015. When I say PC software sales, I mean for games that are available on PC and console. Hardware, here's the surprise. Xbox One, best-selling console, up 63% from last year. That is massive. 63% increase from before. That is massive. That's great. But I'm a little confused, to be honest. I'm a little confused. Nothing wrong with that. I'm happy for the Xbox One. It is, they've been working hard over there and it's been great. But I'm just a little confused. Why? Why is the Xbox One the best-selling console? Because the PS4 has been doing really well. It went on a 9-month, 10-month streak, something like that, before the holidays when Xbox came in and kicked some butt. So, however, despite the price drop, they took $50 off of it for the holidays. They left it at $350. They decided, the holidays were so great, we're going to keep it at $350 long term. And so it's $350. But despite that, since then, since January now, up until, through April, PS4's still been ahead, despite that price drop. And not only that, but PS4 has had a couple of exclusives come out in Bloodborne, The Order. Xbox One has had no exclusives at all come out, with the exception of indies, I suppose. So, and, not to discount indies, by the way, there are some great indies on the scene, especially Ori and the Blind Forest. Great game, despite its bug, which I mentioned a couple episodes ago. So, which makes me wonder, what has Xbox done to earn this? What's changed? To my knowledge, no big games have come out for Xbox One. There's been no big price change since April. So what changed? But either way, Xbox has done great for April. It went ahead and beat the PS4. and that's how it is. Let me see. That doesn't mean that Xbox is ahead, by the way. I see a lot of comments saying, "Oh, PS4 is doomed. The age of Sony is over." I don't remember there being an age of Sony. All I know is Sony's ahead in console unit sales. I've never heard of an age of Sony. If there's an age of Sony, God help us all. If there's an age of Microsoft, if there's an age of any one company, for crying out loud, we're in trouble. Because like I said before, competition is what drives this industry. So for those of you saying, "Oh, Sony's doomed," no, Sony's not doomed. Last we heard was March 1, 20.2 million PS4s were sold. In comparison, the last we heard from Xbox One was, that 6.6 million consoles were sold in the 3 months leading up to the end of last year. And November, around 10 million. My guess is that about 12 to 15 million Xbox Ones have sold through to customers. There's a difference between sold in and sold through. Sold in is sold in to retailers, sold to retailers to sell to customers. Sold through is when the Xbox One actually reaches the customer. So, or the product actually reaches the customer. So my guess is about, at this time, 12 to 15 million sold through since we last heard from them in November. But again, things have been changing. Microsoft's been really pushing forward and doing great. It could be higher, it could be lower. I don't know. It's just my guess. But don't forget, PS4 is still ahead by a good 5-something million units, if my guess is correct. 5 million or more units. And so, no, PS4 is not doomed. Sony's not doomed. The quote, age of Sony, whatever that's supposed to mean, is not over. But what it does mean is that Microsoft is doing something right. Microsoft is doing really good things, and its console is selling, and that is what it needs. So don't worry about the age of whatever. All you need to know is both consoles are doing really good things, and that's good news for everybody. Now, some people have been speculating, hey, perhaps Sony will start a price drop. You never know. Microsoft has had a price drop, and it now sits $50 below Sony. And that's big, considering the fact that this console debuted at $500. So now it sits $50 below the competition. Sony could consider a price drop. It depends. So especially if this becomes a trend with Xbox One regularly beating Sony. Like I said, it's competition. Competition makes companies very reactionary, When something happens for a competitor, then they're like, oh, maybe we need to do something about that. Sony's been ahead. It's been selling really well. It's been selling great. It's been going on winning streaks every month. It's been selling consistently better than the Xbox One. So I think they've been pretty comfortable. They haven't seen a reason to change anything. But if this becomes a trend, if somehow the Xbox One starts regularly selling more than the PS4, yeah, I could see Sony considering something like a price drop. Because since 2013, I think these consoles have become cheaper to make. So, you can pass those savings on. But there we go. Here's a little extra information, a little PR from Microsoft. As the best-selling console in the US in April, fans set record April sales and engagement for Xbox One last month. That's according to Xbox marketing boss Mike Nichols. Xbox Live comparisons showed the number of active global users between Xbox One and Xbox 360. That's what he means by global. That grew 24%. We're grateful to our fans for their passion, blah, 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 blah. So that's pretty good. Xbox Live is more active now. Between the One and the 360, they grew 24%. That's really good. And that 63% increase from last year to this year, that's massive. So good job. Good job, Microsoft. Sony is not staying quiet. They say it says, I should say, we would like to thank fans around the world for continued support of the PS4. According to NPD, PlayStation continues to lead software sales for April 2015, and PS4 remains the cumulative sales leader in the US. We are looking forward to an amazing E3. So Sony's saying, hey, don't forget, we're doing good things too. Yes, E3 is going to be amazing, and I am excited. I hope to get the others on the podcast pretty soon, and we will do a prediction episode. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Here are some analyst comments. one analyst believes that the hardware sales for April 2015, remember how I said hardware sales were down 4% from last year? He thinks that that's because there's a 55% decline in sales of previous generation hardware. So the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the original Wii, there has been a 55% decline in sales, and he believes that that is responsible for the 4% decrease in overall hardware sales, which I think is very reasonable. That's NPD analyst Liam Callahan. He said that to GamesBeat. He says declines in hardware dollar sales due to an increase in average of 4%, blah, 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 other stuff. Let's see what else. I love these analyst things. I haven't seen these in the NPD results before. What else? What am I looking for? Here it is. If the top 10 software sales list was ranked on an SKU basis rather than a title basis, PS4's Bloodborne, 3DS's Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, and Wii U's Mario Party 10 would make the list. And, so what's the difference between an SKU and a title? I'm a little uncertain because I know an SKU is for that unit. So you might have a title. You might have, for example, Infamous. Say there's Infamous Second Son, and you have Infamous, and then you have like some kind of limited edition of Infamous, with some kind of extra DLC on it or something. The title is still Infamous Second Son. It's Infamous Second Son, whether you have the limited edition or the normal edition. However, the SKU, the actual number for that, for those games, for the limited and the normal, the actual number in the computer system is going to be different for those two games because the limited edition is different than the normal edition. So that's what the SKU does. It points out that there's a difference so that retailers and manufacturers can keep track of what's really selling how. So that's making me, I'm thinking about what he says. That's why I'm stumbling a little here. I'm trying to think about, what would be so different, because let's take a look at this. I'm wondering how many different versions of these titles there have been. The Borderlands The Handsome Collection, there's just one version of that. Super Smash Brothers, there's just one version. There's nothing special about that. Does Battlefield Hardline have any special edition, or Mortal Kombat? I don't know. I can't bring it to my mind right now. But that's an interesting statement. If the top 10 software sales list was ranked on an SKU basis instead of a title basis, Bloodborne, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, and Mario Party 10 would make the list. So there you go. He says that there were also soft April accessory sales, and that's because of Easter in 2015. Gamepad sales. And when he says gamepad, he's not talking about the Wii U gamepad. He's just talking about controllers. Those increased by 27% because of an 83% increase in sales for 8th generation gamepads, the new gamepads. The best-selling one for April 2015 was the Xbox One wireless controller, which saw increases for 56%. So there we go. Even despite all of that, video game point and subscription cards had the highest sales within the accessories category. Sales, however, declined from last April. So that's NPD for April 2015. Congrats once again to Xbox, to Microsoft, and we'll see where this goes. I said from the beginning, it's going to be a really interesting generation, guys. These consoles are more similar today than they have ever been in the past. And so, how they're going to sell them is going to be interesting because you don't have those huge differences. For the most part, you don't even have a lot of exclusives. Last generation, it was, PS3 had, the great exclusives, and Microsoft had the great online, and, this generation, they're very similar, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and how they decide to sell them. The first-party studios are not producing a lot in comparison to the third-party studios, the multiple platform studios, and, like I said before, it makes sense to expand to multiple audiences. It doesn't make sense at all to limit yourself to one audience, unless, of course, the company is paying for you to do that, is making up for the losses that you would take. So, yeah, a lot of developers are going full multiple platform, and as they should. And so now that's going to make it interesting to see how these different consoles sell. I foresee a lot of back and forth to the rest of 2015 for Xbox One and PS4 and the Wii U. The Wii U is interesting because it's not necessarily competing. Yes, it is a competitor, but it is not competing in the same area of gaming as PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So it's interesting. I know that I mentioned Xbox One and PS4 a lot and not Wii U, but that's because Wii U's kind of doing its own thing, you know? It's doing its own thing in a way. And Nintendo, like I said last week, has been making some interesting and questionable decisions. So there you go, guys. NPD for April 2015, and that will wrap up episode 11. I'm happy with these shorter episodes. You know, I think 2 hours for a podcast is kind of long. And I don't know how you guys feel. Let me know on Twitter or by email, and we'll see. If you guys would like to contact us I know I've said it a million times, but here you go. Our Twitter is at 4GOnly, at number 4, letter GONLY. Our email address is 4gocast@gmail.com. Guys, if you would like to support us, we would really appreciate it, and goodness do we need it. It takes a little money to run this podcast, not a whole lot, but if you would be willing to support us in any way, we would greatly appreciate it. We have a Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's kind of like Kickstarter. However, it's for smaller projects, for ongoing projects that don't need one big lump sum of funding, but just need some kind of continuous support. So that's what it's for. You can check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/4GO, patreon.com/number 4GO. If you just want to make a one-time donation, just hit up our PayPal, 4gocast@gmail.com. Patreon, by the way, it's kind of subscription-based. It would be per episode. So if you want to just donate something once on Patreon, just go ahead, do a donation, and cancel right away. You can cancel it at any time. And there are some cool stretch goals. If you have any ideas for stretch goals or milestones, I think they're called over there, just let us know. We'll be happy to see what we can do. So that's me begging for money. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay, music. Our music this week comes from OC Remix. The intro is called Medieval Rave. It comes from Jazz Jackrabbit 2, which was available on the PC in 1998. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I actually hadn't heard of the franchise, but it looks like a lot of fun. The song was originally called Medieval Jam, and the remix was done on OC Remix by Basherman, who I believe goes by Sebastian Frisk in the real world. Our outro, which you will hear in just a little moment, is called Let Strength Be Gained. It's from Demon Souls from the PS3 in 2009, and it is by Rotaka, Roetaka, who I believe goes by Alex Rowe in the real world. This song that you're about to hear, we're going to play the whole thing. It's an orchestral remix. It is a stunning piece. It is absolutely beautiful. You are going to enjoy it, I believe, so stay tuned. Check it out. It's coming up in just a minute. Guys, Overclocked Remix is a great place for gamers who love music. That's because it's all gaming music, basically. You've got 3,000, there's a torrent file of like 3,000 songs, all free to download. Of course, you can hear these songs from this podcast and many more amazing video game remixes in full for free at ocremix.org, ocremix.org. It's great. I don't think they even know we exist. You know, we've just been using their stuff. It's illegal. I checked, it's legal. They're allowing it, but I don't think they know. It's just a great place. Guys, that wraps up our episode. We are done with episode 11 of 4 Gamers Only. Tune in next week for episode 12, guys, and hopefully we'll have more people here than just myself. I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice by now, so we will see what happens. Until then, guys, stay safe, game hard, and lots of love from Forgotten Oreos, aka 4GO.